Now on Mississippi Insight, trying to track criminal justice bills at the state legislature can be daunting for many. Now a nonprofit news site has a tool to help Mississippians keep up. We'll talk with the Marshall Project's Bedillion. And has America ever seen a more divisive political environment? Actually, we've seen plenty. JSU's Robert Luckett, the director of the Margaret Walker Center, offers an historical perspective this week on Mississippi Insight. I'm Byron Brown on broadcast and on podcast. Thank you for joining us for this March 2nd edition of Insight. We'll get to those interviews shortly, but first, an important programming note for voters in Jackson. 12 News will broadcast the Jackson Mayoral Candidate Forum hosted by Jackson State University next Tuesday, March 4th. More than a dozen candidates for the mayor's office will offer their perspectives on why they should lead government in Mississippi's capital city. I'll present questions from students and other voters. Watch the JSU Jackson Mayoral Candidate Forum live 6 to 8 p.m. Tuesday, March 4th, and only on WJTV.com and 12 News, your local election headquarters. We hope you'll join us. Meantime, the 2025 legislature is tackling a massive legislation with implications for Mississippi's criminal justice system. Everything from prisons and jails to courthouses and police stations could be impacted by these bills. Now, the nonprofit Marshall Project has devised a way for everyday Mississippians to stay informed on these proposals. We spoke Thursday with Marshall Project staff writer Bedillion about the new criminal justice bill tracker. Okay, we're talking about your criminal justice bill tracker. Is this the first year if you have the tracker and kind of explain how this works?
Yeah, so we wanted to roll out this new tool this year to help Mississippians be able to keep up with what lawmakers are doing that could affect the criminal justice system. That includes the courts, the state prisons, and the laws that you, me, and everyone has to follow. So it can be real complicated to keep up with what lawmakers are doing. They're in the Capitol here in Jackson through April. So we've got a tool online that has just the bills that are currently still alive for consideration that have something to do with the criminal justice system. So again, that includes new voting districts potentially for all of our circuit and chancery courts. That includes, new laws having to do with drugs or in some cases traffic laws. That includes the state prison conditions. That'll include the budget for the Department of Corrections. So you can go there, see every bill still that could be considered by lawmakers that will affect the justice system in some way. You find out who filed the bill, what chamber it's in. You can go read the bill. We've got links. And so it's just a tool to enable Mississippians to see how our lawmakers in Jackson could change the justice system in some way.
Why is this tool important, not only for journalists, but also for the general public? And is it easy to navigate?
Yeah, we've got all the bills there in a list. You can click through different pages in the tool to see, what the bill is, what its name is, what it would do. And it's important because all of us are going to probably eventually touch the justice system in some way, even if that just means going to court for a traffic ticket or going to civil court, for example. You have the opportunity to cast a vote for your judge, circuit or chancery. All these judges touch our lives in so many ways. All of the state laws we have to follow, again, you got to follow it. So this helps citizens keep track with what their lawmakers are doing. Do they like what the lawmakers are doing? If you're, got a loved one that's in state prison or in a county jail, this will help you keep up with different things that could change them. Bill under consideration, for example, that would require the Mississippi Department of Corrections to make sure that people that are incarcerated there, if they're working or handling dangerous chemicals in some way, that they have to have the appropriate protective equipment. So you can easily see, bills that are of interest to you and your circumstances.
Has this been a busy year for criminal justice reforms?
There's a couple of really important things that are being considered that would be big changes. So one is, I just said, new voting districts for circuit and chancery judges. That was considered last year, and now it didn't go anywhere. It's back up for consideration. One of the plans, for example, Hinds County right now is its own circuit district. One of the plans would eventually add Hinds County into a bigger circuit district with Claiborne and Jefferson counties. So that would be a big change if that happened. You'd have circuit judges from other areas potentially able to hear cases here in Jackson. There's a bill that would overhaul our youth court system. So important to deal with our young people there who are connected to the justice system in some way, or you've got a hearing about whether their parent ought to still have custody or not of them. So a lot of concern that our current youth court system doesn't have enough resources. A lot of places you don't have a full-time judge hearing those cases, you have a part-time lawyer. So there's a bill under consideration that would overhaul our youth court system. Those are two really big things that are under consideration, but again, small things as well, more money potentially for the Department of Corrections, changes to our drug laws. There was a bill that got some recent controversy. It would have made small possession of methamphetamine a misdemeanor. Sponsor of that bill said help those cases move faster, get resolution, get people help that they need quicker. Hinds County Sheriff here voiced some concern about that bill. So again, it's there in the tracker, so you can really see what's there that you personally might be interested in.
Yeah, when you talk previously about the felony for voter disenfranchisement movement, talk a little bit about that, and is there any movement right now in 2025 with this voter disenfranchisement? Yeah,
that's an issue I covered a lot, especially last year. Currently in Mississippi, if you're convicted of one of a certain number of felonies, you lose your right to vote forever. Now, some of those felonies on that list are very serious, such as murder, but some of them you might not even go to jail for. Like writing a bad check. First-time offense, you might just get parole for that, not ever even go to state prison, but you're going to lose your right to vote forever. There was some real effort in the State House last year. The State House passed a bill that would have restored voting rights to people that have lost their right to vote, but their conviction was nonviolent. The Senate didn't take up that bill. It died because of the Senate. House, again, this year, acted like they were going to take up some bills to try and reform the disenfranchisement system, made it out of committee, but then the sponsor said, the Senate still not interested, so we're not going to bother passing those bills. There are, though, individual bills that would restore voting rights to just one person. So those bills are in the tracker, and you'll be able to see, are our lawmakers restoring voting rights to anyone, or are they not?
What seems to be the appetite for restoring voting rights right now? Is it there, or is it kind of dying down now with the Trump administration in office? Where's it standing?
I mean, honestly, we haven't seen a whole lot of movement on that issue. The Senate wasn't interested last year, still not interested, it would seem, this year. Usually in terms of the individual bills, those usually come up later in the session. I haven't seen a lot filed yet this year, especially compared to last year. In the House, the interest has been bipartisan. We've seen Republicans and Democrats say, we shouldn't be taking voting rights away for some of these charges, and others can vote still from prison. It's just not a system that makes sense. That idea had bipartisan support in the House. So I'm not sure that we've seen much change with the Trump administration, but certainly with early voting, which doesn't directly affect the justice system, but we've seen the Governor Tate Reeves has really opposed early voting and has been opposed to changes to the disenfranchisement system as well. So I do think the governor's opposition has potentially chilled the appetite for reform in that arena.
Yeah, but when it comes to early voting, Senator Jeremy England, there from down on the coast, has been pushing that, who's a Republican, but he says there's some support on the Republican side for that early voting. What do you think could happen there, though, because there are some Republicans who support that? Yeah,
I mean, that bill has moved to the House, and my sense is we're probably not going to see it get out of the House.
What other things is the Marshall Project working on right now that people should be interested in and keep an eye out for?
Okay, we're watching the situation at the Hinds County Jail. Obviously there had been a court-ordered takeover of that jail due to violence and bad conditions there in the jail. That got appealed, but the federal appeals court said that the takeover can continue. So we're going to see how that proceeds and see if the federal government, it's the federal courts, I should say, if the federal courts can make a difference there in the conditions in the jail, still continuing to watch the public defense system here in Mississippi, as well as just making sure that our court system is moving the cases along in a timely fashion. There's been real problems with speedy trial delays and cases not moving quickly in Mississippi.
If people want to find information and read articles about what you guys are doing, how do they go about getting information and seeing it? Yeah,
all our Mississippi coverage can be found online at themarshallproject.org/Jackson. And we're pleased many local outlets here in Mississippi also republish our material. So we're pleased that there's lots of ways for people to keep up with our reporting about Mississippi right here in Mississippi.
Good reporting going on there. We thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Byron.
Thank you for joining us.
Sure thing.
All right, and we'll be right back. America's political environment may make us anxious as partisan and social economic divisions threaten nationwide disruptions. But we have to remember, this nation was born in conflict, and conflict has played a critical role throughout our history. Dr. Robert Luckett raised the point with us in February. The director of the Margaret Walker Center at Jackson State University, he hosted us in February at JSU's Kofo Center. And Luckett offered his thoughts about another bitterly divided period in our history, the Civil Rights era. If you have comments or questions about today's show or a suggestion for an interview or segment, just drop us a line. Email our producers. The address is news@WJTV.com. Big thanks to Caleb Bedillion and Dr. Robert Luckett for joining us this week. And don't forget to join us Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. for JSU's Jackson Mayoral Candidates Forum, only on 12 News. I'm Byron Brown from all of us here at 12 News. Make it a great weekend.